Well, hi again. Another thought for you this week, for anyone that may be listening. Maybe you're not listening, but just something I've become aware of over the past week or so, that I'm guessing, like me, many of you are doing Zoom meetings and catching up with people, maybe prayer meetings, Bible studies. I've been aware over the past week or so that the Zoom meetings that I'm involved in are taking a slightly different tack. I'm sensing something else coming through now, and I was very aware in a Zoom meeting that I had with a church family this week that as much as we were appreciative of all of the internet that it gives us and social media, and that we can do this, that we can connect with each other, there was a palpable yearning coming through the group for more, something deeper, something more physical. And we really, as a group, kind of confessed that we needed a hug. We needed to see one another and sit around a table with one another, and we needed a hug. And as I reflected on it afterwards, I remembered my little grandson Joe when he was just a toddler and learning to negotiate the world as children do. And one of the things Joe would say when he was doing something was, "I do it all by myself, Gran. I do it all by myself." Whether that was putting his pants on or brushing his teeth or learning to tie his shoes or learning to walk, learning all the things that a child has to learn to be able to negotiate in this world. So we have in one breath the independence of becoming independent, of managing to do things for ourselves. But when that carries on and carries on and carries on as we get older and older, we can find ourselves then being in a situation where the independent spirit of wanting to achieve for ourselves, wanting to do for ourselves, actually becomes in stark contrast to the interdependent God who created us and created us to be relational, because we're not really supposed to be lots of single units doing it all for ourselves, getting success all by ourselves, getting on in the world all by ourselves, doing it for ourselves. This flies in the face of what God created us to do. God created us not only to be dependent on Him, utterly dependent on Him, and this is not a weakness, this is an acknowledgement of our relationship with Him, and actually to be dependent on one another. We are not supposed to be this individualistic society that has grown up in recent years and taken hold of our culture. It says in Psalms that God sets the lonely in families, and I was just aware in sharing with the group yesterday that many of us are struggling with loneliness in this lockdown. We're missing people. Now, for introverts, we hear this is great time, and for extroverts this is a nightmare, and maybe I'm somewhere between the two. I'm sharing it with someone. I have my husband and I have company, but there's lots of people that are on their own, and even those that aren't on their own, they're missing that contact with people. And I'm wondering if this lockdown's giving us an opportunity to actually refute and tear down the independent spirit that has separated us all and made us all go into our own little bubbles, or even believe that we're doing it all by ourselves. It says in 1 Corinthians 13 and 11, when I was a child, I talked like a child, and I thought like a child, and I reasoned like a child. But when I became an adult or a man, I put childish ways behind me. But perhaps we haven't put childish ways behind us. Perhaps we have imagined that somehow or other, anything and everything that we've got, we've done it all by ourselves. And if anything, if this lockdown and coronavirus has shown us anything, we need each other. We need God, and we need each other. When Jesus was asked what's the greatest commandment, he gave the Shema answer from Deuteronomy. Jesus said, "Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind and with all your strength, and love your neighbour as yourself. There's no greater commandment than these. Well, how can we love our neighbour as ourselves if we're all living independently, thinking independently, doing independently? The independent spirit is challenged at the moment by the interdependency of God, who created us to be relational. Let's put childish ways behind us and recognise and realise and thank God for an opportunity to restore the acknowledgement that I depend on you, God, for everything. And actually, I depend on my neighbour and my brother and sister because I can't do this all by myself. So I'm grateful for that, and I'm thankful that perhaps God is using this time to help me see something that I need to address. I can't do it all by myself. God bless you.